Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Critical Mass with me, Rob. So welcome to Critical Mass. I am looking at some stuff in the studio, and looks like we're having a little bit of an issue in the space, but I'm going to correct that right now, I think. Yep, let's do that. So for those watching, if you're interested, we do have an X space going on right now. If you guys want to join in on the conversation, please come on over there, request up, and we'll bring you up. Keep your microphone closed until we call on you, and let's go. So I know people have heard me say this often, and I think it's worth reiterating. We should always be able to call out our elected officials, even if it's people we've elected and we've, worked our asses off to get into office. We should always be able to call them out when we see them doing something stupid or not enacting the will of the people that voted for them. And our side, the right, has been very divisive lately. And I'm not thrilled with what I'm seeing. You're either all or nothing. Nobody can take a measured stance and look at the situation and be rational about it. There are people on one side of this thing that says Trump can do no wrong and everything he does is perfect and right. And then there's people that said, oh, well, he screwed up once and, screw him. Both sides are an extreme that I won't want any part of. I am never going to dick ride for anybody. And as somebody who voted for this man 3 times and has put my faith in him to correct this country, if he does something out of the purview of what, he ran on, or doing the things that the voters that actually, did work their asses off to get him in this second time. We all know it's the third time, though, by the way. We put him in there with a mandate. And if he's not doing that mandate and we call it out, we got the people that say, no matter what. And then they say, well, you're out of the club. And then you got the other guys that are like, oh, you're just kissing Trump's ass. You guys are in a cult. Why can't we have just a sense of normalcy when it comes to being able to talk about politics? We are so... Look, the left and the right have always been divisive with one another. We've always, not seen eye to eye on our political stances. And obviously the last 10 years or 11 years, even since Obama, actually, so let's say almost 20 years at this point, we've literally been at each other's throats, the left and the right. Gone are the days where you could have political discourse that didn't lead into fisticuffs. And, like when I was growing up. And now it's even worse. Now it's even worse because we're literally biting our own noses off. We're supposedly throwing people out of the party because they're not just in lockstep with everything that goes on. I will always say that there are things that he's done that, like his first term, he was very anti-Second Amendment. Again, this is not going to be a Second Amendment space, but, no president in the United States that runs on a Republican and or conservative platform should ever say, we'll take the guns first, due process later. That is diametrically opposed to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. You don't say that. That's a hyperbolic statement. And I really thought, this time around, he would have learned from, the people that he had surrounding him his first term. Because we all know that Mike Pence was a snake in the grass. He had a lot of people that were around him, and he had these people, around him because he didn't know D.C. He had an idea about D.C., but you don't ever really know D.C. until you become a part of the inner circle. So the inner circle convinced him to do, bring all these people in that were poison to him, that were poison to his agenda. And I thought he learned from that. And I also say, I'm not with this whole 4D and 5D chess bullshit. I'm really not. I will never be okay with that. We got him in, and the clear mandate was transparency in our government. And we've gotten less than that. In fact, we're getting more smoke and mirrors. I don't want to play games because this is a war. We are in a literal war. And we saw it when Joe Biden was in office. If Kamala had won, yes, it would definitely be worse. And when I, talk to people on my side about this, I say, well, at least with Kamala, I know my enemy. I want to be forewarned is forearmed. That is my enemy right there. Kamala Harris would be the enemy of the people. Kamala Harris would be the enemy of the Constitution. Kamala Harris would be the enemy of, Western civilization and American exceptionalism because they don't believe in that. If Trump didn't get in, we would have never gotten that American Eagle ad. I guarantee you that. They would have been continuing to push this woke global homo agenda. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that him winning has incentivized and energized these companies to say, you know what, no, we're done with the woke bullshit. And he has done good. He has done amazing things. But you go back to the things that I don't believe he should have ever met with Bill Gates, of all people. I would not be able to sit in a room with Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. The two people that I wasn't sure of, one I was just kind of like, I didn't really know enough about him to even, like, it was a blip on my radar, was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So going into this, I mean, I knew he was running for president, and I know he, switched parties to run as an independent. But then when I started hearing him talk about, the healthcare system, and then you see like this 70-something-year-old man who's like built like a brick shit house, he's obviously doing something right. And the other one I wasn't really sure of at all was Tulsi Gabbard. I've always had a problem with her anti-Second Amendment stance. I've always looked at her as just a, Hawaiian Democrat who was not pro-gun. And then all of a sudden, after she was ousted from the party, she wasn't really ousted, but you guys know what I mean, when she called Hillary out. And she was politically homeless. She now all of a sudden turned into a gun bunny. She was wearing the tight 511 pants and plate carrier, and running around doing 3-gun with the with her AR. And I was like, wow, what a drastic difference from when the same Tulsi Gabbard was calling for an assault weapons ban. And I have to say that out of all of the picks that Trump did, those two have been stellar. I am pleasantly surprised about Tulsi Gabbard. And I knew that Robert Kennedy Jr. was going to do what he's doing right now. I just had that feeling about him. Because I do believe that he cares about Americans' health. I believe that, and I believe that before Trump won, when I knew that, he was going to be a part of this administration one way or another, and I couldn't have picked a better place to put him. I honestly thought before, Trump picked J.D. Vance that, when RFK Jr. was going to drop out, that he would have picked up RFK Jr. as vice president and to try to unify the left and the right together, and so that, people would come in. But people said that, when I said that, people said I was crazy and it was a pipe dream because that'll never happen. But after Robert F. Kennedy's performance yesterday, and then Elizabeth Warren's complete meltdown, and then Bernie Sanders, If you guys weren't paying attention to what Bernie Sanders said, man, he just fucking let it all hang out at that moment. They all, he was like, he goes, we all take money from Big Pharma, basically, as I'm paraphrasing. And everybody's watching us looking around going, well, duh, we all know this, but you just let the cat out of the bag, guy. But as far as transparency and what's going on in our government right now, I think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard have been stellar. They have been the most transparent. They are literally doing the most work. I'm not seeing Kash doing anything. I think that Bongino's got a leash on him right now. I think they got a muzzle on him. And he's sitting there every single day going, why did I give up $4 or $5 million a year for this? Because they've been ineffectual from what I've seen. Pam Bondi, I have the hiccups. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. Give me 1 second. I think that Pam Bondi is an abject failure. I didn't like her before. I think she was a bad pick. I know what she did in Florida. As far as the Second Amendment goes, and I don't believe that anybody who's the most powerful law enforcement person in the country should have any unconstitutional views. And there were people at the beginning of this, and I'm going to end the rant on this one. There were people at the beginning of this that were just like, oh man, it's 30 days in and nothing's happening. Well, it's 30 days, guy. And then these people are like, well, let's see where we're at in 3 months. And I said, okay, let's see where we're at in 3 months. Oh, well, it's spring and, we got to wait to see. We're going to see some definite change over the summer. And now we're 9 months in. And I haven't seen much change. That's not to say there isn't going to be. But how far do we move the goalposts before we say, all right, we've had enough? People say I say these things because I'm black-pilled. People say that I say these things because, I don't have any faith in Trump. No, it's not that. I'm going to be very clear here. I am calling out Trump, and I want to energize you people that are listening right now, the people that are in the space, and anybody that hears any of my messaging or anything that I type, to get loud. He needs to hear us loud and clear because he's not. He needs to see, I'm sure there's plenty of people. If there was, 10,000 people that reposted something, Trump, this is a bad idea, he's going to get wind of it. We need to keep him on his toes. We are MAGA, first and foremost. He's the figurehead of MAGA. He's supposed to institute the MAGA agenda. And he needs to hear from us, not the sycophants that are around him trying to push him in one way or the other to meet their own agenda. Because their agenda is not our agenda. Their agenda is for their own money and power. They don't care about you and I. These people in government, they don't give a shit about us. We're serfs to them. We are a problem to them. Us and our Second Amendment is a stopgap to them doing whatever they want to do, to run roughshod all over this country. We are the tip of the spear. Trump is not the tip of the spear. We are. We're the ones stopping them from enacting all of these things that the last 4 years. Could you imagine where we would be right now if Kamala was in office? Well, first of all, I know my friends would still be in jail. So I am thankful for that. I am thankful that just his presence alone has made it so that these companies are canceling all the woke DEI bullshit. And I'm thankful that he got in and he picked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to point out the things that most of us that had a clue were talking about for all of these years. I remember when my son was born and the debate about whether I got him vaccinated or not. And I was looking at all this information from everywhere. Like, I don't just listen to one source. I want to hear differing opinions. And they were doing studies out of England where they were saying that these vaccines were, directly linked to autism, just like red dye number 40 is directly linked to autism. All the, processed shit in our foods, on a developing brain leads to, develop directly related to autism. And so I heard at that time, and this is what I was telling people when people were questioning me about my choice to vaccinate my son or not. I said, listen, there's 50% of the things that I've read, which was a lot, that were pro-vaccine, and there was 50% that said it was dangerous. To me, 50-50 with my son's life and my son's health was not good enough odds. And now he's 15 years old, healthy as a horse, hasn't gotten COVID. I had COVID. He never got it. Kid's never been sick a day in his life. He's going to be 6'3". He's 6 foot now. And he's 220 pounds. The kid's a monster. And I look at all the kids around him in his school, like he's one of the biggest kids in his school. Now, do I think that's related to vaccinations? I can't say for sure. I'm not a doctor, but I do know that the two children that I didn't vaccinate are healthy and advanced beyond what I see other vaccinated children at. So I'm thankful for Robert Kennedy going in there and raising holy hell and saying, listen, this shit is dangerous. I'm glad he's speaking out about COVID-19 vaccinations. Trump has had a lifetime of wins. He's had some losses, but he's had a lifetime of wins, and he just won't take the L on the COVID vaccination. He won't. And then I think it was 3 days ago, I'm sure somebody will correct me on it. 3 days ago, he was saying, now I want the information about this because he said it. I really wanted this to be fucking awesome, but it's obviously that it's not. Somebody get me the details. So now he's asking for it. At least he's coming around to that. But Trump is not somebody who's that's his ego, and we all know he has one. It's not saying it's a bad thing. Your ego can make you do great and wonderful things. So yeah, I am, and I'm, Tulsi Gabbard, I am grateful for her. But there's still a lot of things that I'm seeing that I'm not liking, and I have that right to say that. And don't let anybody squash your voice. Don't let anybody try to gaslight you or guilt trip you into believing, what they want you to believe. If you don't want to believe that, if you look at something and say, listen, I'm seeing 1 + 1 = 2. You're seeing 1 + 1 = 5D chess, and I can't hang with you on that. Don't let them change your mind. Stand up for what you believe in. Now, I'm not doom-pilled, or else I wouldn't have voted for him the third time. I believe he does want to institute MAGA values into this country, and I'm sure that they're fighting him. Our own party's fighting him. And the way to fix that is really get your ass on the pavement and get out for your reps in 2026. We can't lose the House, because if we lose the House, there will not be a chance to get his agenda, which is our agenda, instituted in this country. They will fight. He will be a lame duck president. We don't want that. So yes, be angry at the shit that you can absolutely be angry at. Go for it. Do it. But at the same time, don't be so doom-pilled that you don't think anything is going to happen. Now, I know this. I know how I'm going to feel. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm giving him the time. I'm not moving any goalposts because I never set any goalposts. I just know what I want done, and that's the things that he ran on. And I want him to keep his word about his policies. So I'm not really ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. What a horrible fucking phrase. But yeah, no, that's what it is. And with that, I want to thank you guys very much for listening to my rant. We, for those that are watching right now, we do have an X Space going on right now. If you want to come in and join the conversation, please come on into the X Space at the Rob1772. That is my handle on X, and you will see it. It's pinned to the top of my profile. If you guys want to come in, again, like I said, join the conversation, please do. And then the other thing is we have a shop. It's called 1776.shop. The Critical Mass store is open. We got T-shirts, and hopefully before the weekend, we will have sweatshirts. Now that we're coming into fall, I can't believe I'm saying that. The summer went by so damn fast. But the sweatshirts look friggin' awesome. I saw a couple of copies of what they're going to look like, and they're going to be badass. So please, if you want to support the show, if you want to support the studio, 1776.shop, and we are going to go over to the space. Over there, we have Conservative Penn as my co-host. Penn, how are we doing today?
We're doing good, but can we do a quick sound check? Because over on the streaming side, they are saying that your volume is very low. I just didn't
My
want to throw
volume
you
is
off.
very low.
Yeah. I think in the space, you may be fine.
Can you guys hear me in the space?
You're coming through fine in the space. The stream was pretty low.
Oh, well, that's not cool. Let's see what I can do about that. One of these days, I'm going to have a producer. Oh, that's why. Because the microphone's turned all the way down.
Well, there we go.
The microphone's turned all the way down. Is that better? Oh, it's doing that thing again.
Do it a little bit more because you just went quiet again.
Yeah, no, I know. It.
Oh, it's doing that thing.
Yeah, it's
resetting itself.
Yep, it's doing that thing, which I stopped it from doing that, and it doesn't. Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
While we're figuring this out, if you guys could go ahead and just share out the live and the space, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember. Well, it's going to be what it's going to be for right now. So I'm watching the I guess I'm going to have to figure this out. And I'm not doing it now. It's always one thing or another with this studio. So, do we have any hands, Penn?
I don't see any hands, but I would love to see some hands. I know that Kimberly was sharing a pretty good perspective earlier, so if she wants to pop back up on mic, that would be awesome. Oh, Grizzly, go ahead.
Thanks. So yeah, I just wanted to chime in on the Bill Gates and Trump powwow, and I think that's part of the way Trump operates, right? He wants to have a rapport with people. He wants to look them in the eye and have a conversation and get a read on them. And he's sending a message to Gates, and he's saying, he's not giving him a platform. He's not inviting him in there and saying, hey, we're buddies. He's saying, we're a couple men, and he's trying to establish a level of face-to-face respect. And he's saying, I'm paying attention to you. You're not just flying, right? He's saying, you're on my radar, and I want us to have, a face-to-face and an opportunity to have an open discussion. And I think that's it. I think that's just part of how he operates. Just kind of putting him on notice.
So you think? Can you guys hear that now? That's really loud.
That sounds terrible.
That sounds terrible. Okay, so we're bringing it back down.
Wait. Now we're doing good. Yeah.
Okay. It's still working its way down. Oh boy. All right. Well, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to figure that out later. So Grizz, you think that you think that he's keeping these people around him so he can keep an eye on them? Is that what? Because I don't see why he would need to bring Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg of all people to the White House.
Well, he has Zuckerberg. I mean, I think he doesn't seek to make enemies of them. He knows that they're influential. Um, Zuckerberg was down at Mar-a-Lago like before the election, I think, or maybe right after it before he took office. But um, it wasn't long after that the government was up Facebook's butt or Meta's butt. So yeah, I don't read it as hey, let's be buddies. I don't see that. I don't see it as an alliance building. I see it more as, like I said, he likes to establish a face-to-face contact and a level of respect, and maybe some understanding that we aren't always on the same side, but that doesn't mean we have to be enemies. We don't always agree, right? Um, you know, those people are involved in huge things that span a multitude of issues, and Trump may see some of them wrong, and he may have a problem with it, and he may push back on some of that. But that doesn't mean that they have to disagree all the time, right? He understands that Gates and Zuckerberg are huge players in AI, which is a huge initiative for him, and he'd like to be working with them instead of against them in that context. So, yeah, I think that's the need to have the face-to-face and a level of respect between them, and that they understand that we don't have to agree all the time, but we don't have to be enemies either.
Okay. Well, hopefully that fixed it.
They're saying it did.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, we got perfect. Deb, go ahead.
Hey, thanks. So I'm gonna be quite frank.
You go, woman.
You know what? I'm done. I'm over this too close to the enemies type of business. I want the old Trump back, the FAFO Trump. I don't know why he is catering to these evil people, and it's not just these two, Zuckerberg and Gates. It's also he's done this with other ones. Like, why did we send weapons to Ukraine? What happened to that? Like there's just, I'm starting to get a little chill up my spine right now. Not right just this minute, but, just with the whole thing. Because the Trump I voted for the first time, was a FAFO. Fuck around. You're going to find out. Watch. But he's not doing anything. This is freaking me out. So I'm just saying that. And that's my 2 cents. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to make excuses. Okay, but I don't know. When it comes to stuff like this, maybe I'm cut from a different cloth, but I think the Epstein stuff, I think the FAFO stuff, I'm trying to word this right, but at the same time, that'll just go against who I am. I think him getting shot really fucked him up. And I think that they got close to killing him. And I think that we know that there is a deep state, people. That there's no denying that. It's not crazy conspiracy. But the thing about the deep state that nobody wants to realize is that they're even more powerful than Trump is. The deep state has existed long before Trump. They're going to exist long after. And the second you start messing with people's money and messing with people's power, look, Trump's, 79 years old? Almost, I think he's going to be 80. He doesn't care about, his life's effectively over. Like he's lived his life. He's got kids. and he's got grandkids that he's got to worry about. And I honestly think that that's the pressure point. I think they're exerting pressure on that because, you know, obviously after he's gone, you know, he's worried about his legacy. So I think when it comes to the Epstein stuff, this is a prime example. You know, we have Epstein victims doing a press conference yesterday talking about the things that happened to them while he's simultaneously sitting in the White House saying that it's a hoax. But I'm also a big fan of watching people's body language. And when all the stuff about Epstein being a hoax was coming out, and you watch that interview with Dan Bongino, you can see, like, Dan Bongino is visibly uncomfortable. You can see Dan Bongino's looking at this going, man, what the hell? This is, it looked like he was trying to, like, shovel down a shit sandwich. You know what I mean? I don't know any other way to describe it. He was trying to choke back vomit. That's exactly what he looked like. He looked pale and green in the face. I think that there are entities in our government that are more powerful than Trump, more powerful than we will ever know, and they're exerting their pressure on him. Now, I know that there will be some people that come up and say that that's Israel, the state of, not the Jewish people, because I can't stand either one of those sides, too. It's like, oh, you can't say anything bad about the Israeli government because they're perfect. And then you have all the other side of it that go, all Jews are bad. And it's like, dude, shut the fuck up, both sides. You want to just tell them both to shut the fuck up. Two things can be right at the same time. The Israeli government are a bunch of nefarious pieces of shit, and they have been for decades. But the Jewish people are not. So the Jewish people as a whole. So, you know, I'm done with this, like, this hard one side of the fence or hard the other side of the fence. And it doesn't mean I'm a fence rider. It means I'm trying to look at this thing from an objective point of view. And that's what people are losing nowadays, is their objectivity. But if you can't see that Trump changed, even after he got shot, even him coming out the first time at that, the next time he spoke after he got shot, you know, you could see it in his face. You ask anybody that's been shot and been to war and shot at, that shit changes you. He's not an automaton. He's still a human being like we all are. So as far as the things that, you know, we're getting like little things here and there, and they want us to be happy about it. But the big major things, like, you know, we've been talking about abolishing the IRS for God knows how long. We're no closer to that. That's an important issue. They don't need to take our tax dollars anymore. We need to get rid of the Social Security scam. Give everybody their money that they've paid into it and get rid of it. Because we've known it's been a scam for decades. The government can take $100,000 from you over your life and then dole it out a little bit here, a little bit there, because, you know, you're not capable of managing your own money. That's not the government that our forefathers wanted us to have. They wanted us to have a government that had zero control over us, that we had control over them. They are only capable of governing because of the power that we gave them. And they have forgotten that. You know, listen, everybody waxes philosophic about Reagan. And Reagan did a lot of good things. He did. But at the same time, he did some really, really fucked up shit. The war on drugs destroyed this country. Period. Full stop. Getting rid of mental institutions. We got FOPA, which is the Firearms Protection Act, which was anything but firearms protection. So when you go back, you can look at every single, you know, Bush was not a great president. There's nothing about Bush's fucking presidency that I could ever go, oh, yeah, that was awesome. And you know how I know that? Because I've ridden with the Patriot Guard for 20 years now, and I saw how bad he botched Iraq and Afghanistan. And it was definitely not any better during Obama. So I always expect the worst. This is how I live my life. I always expect the worst so that I'm never disappointed. But I will always hope for the best. If that long ass diatribe, Deb, helps you. But yeah, I'm not. Listen, Range-Minded Podcast says we're talking guns. Listen, we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about right now. Like I said, I didn't have, other than current events, I didn't have a guest today. And I didn't have really an idea about a show as far as, but the stuff that we're dealing with right now, I mean, how do I say this? I'm not one of these Me Too guys. Like if a woman says she was raped, you got to believe all women. I'm not that guy. I don't. Like I see bullshit in all of it. I'm not saying that women don't get raped because they do. But I never jumped on that Me Too train. But when you have people like these women that were telling their story yesterday about one of the most nefarious child trafficking ring in the history of this world, period. And they're telling their stories. And then the president doubles down and calls it a hoax. It's got to hit you in the gut. And you got to have an outlet to be able to say that without people condemning you for it. And this is the spot. If you want to come up and you want to say, listen, I'm pissed off, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. If you want to come up and say that, please do. This is your soundboard. This is for you guys. The space is for you guys.
Well, if I could interject, one thing about those
Nobody asked you.
victims, and I'm not trying to minimize anything that they went through, but the main Oh, you're back. I don't know. I think some of these victims are not as innocent, is what I'm trying to say. But Doc, you do have your hand up.
Yeah. First of all, on the Epstein stuff, I'm kind of whatever about that. That investigation was closed some time ago. All of that evidence has gone through so many hands at this point. Um, it's you know it's unlikely that there's going to be anything useful for prosecutions. If there is, they need to go through it. It's not going to be public until after an investigation is concluded, until after a prosecution is done, so on and so forth. If there isn't, then the only people that are going to be negatively impacted by release of everything is people that were incidental to it. Somebody that Epstein ran into somewhere at random that they pulled in for questioning. Okay, now that name's on a list and had no involvement in it. So we've got active trafficking of people and drugs running rampant in this country right now, and that needs to be addressed first. Um, Epstein is pretty much a cold case. It's dead at this point. It's more of a distraction than it is anything else. Not that I don't empathize with victims of that. Not that I'm saying it didn't happen. Just that at this point, you know it's not pertinent to anything we need to be addressing immediately. Um, the other side of that too is I mean, yeah, nobody's perfect. Uh, that includes Trump. What you're seeing a lot of pushback from is the people that show up maybe every 4 years and try to vote themselves into God King. And then they'll feel some kind of way about what happens next. Either they'll wave pom poms for the individual for that cult of personality that they helped elect, or they'll be extremely disappointed that you can't just wave a magic wand and make things happen. Um, you've got to take a little more nuanced approach. And I would suggest you know, if you're really really feeling that strongly about what's going on, right now is the time to start getting on board with some primaries. For your federal and state reps. Uh, Start working on those campaigns. Make sure that the people that you actually want are elected to your local and state and ultimately federal offices. Until you square away your AO, you can't worry about the theater. I'll just leave it there. I've been running my mouth long enough.
So I think the only thing that I disagree on is, I actually 100% agree on people. We got to get out there. If we don't want him to be a lame duck president for the last 2 years of his presidency, you really have to do the work. You can't leave it up to, entities like Rhino Removal Project or, the Conservative Caucus to do all of the work for you. They're there as helpful tools, but it's each and every one of us. If we care about this country, if we care about getting this country back on track, we have to be invested in it. And that means getting out there and hitting the pavement. That means going and talking to, like I'm setting up. We have 3 that I'm looking at right now to run for Congress in my state, New Hampshire, is Lily Tang Williams, Dan Innes, and Scott Brown. And I'm trying to get all 3 of them on the show so that I can talk to them. And, I'm investigating this Dan Innes because I don't know anything about him. And I'm putting the time and the effort in. So I'm going to go and try to meet up with him at a meetup this weekend. Same thing with Lily Tang Williams. I mean, I'm already convinced on Lily Tang Williams. It's just she doesn't live in my district, so I can't vote for her. If she did, it would be a no-brainer. I mean, that woman escaped communist China. Hold on one second. And she came here and she said, you know what, man, I want to be an American. And she worked her ass off because she loved this country. She became an American citizen. She's running for Congress. And I think that's important. I really do. And, Dan Innes, from what it seems like on the page, he's going to be great. But, it's talking to him. It's getting all those questions out. And again, you have to put in the effort. That's why we have, New Hampshire has an overwhelming majority in our House and an overwhelming majority in our Senate, because we actually did the work going up to it. I mean, we weren't out here, looking for praises from people, but we just knew what we needed to do to fix our state. And I know that Kelly Ayotte, our governor, wouldn't be signing the things that she's signing right now if she didn't see the work that the New Hampshire citizens put in. I mean, I don't think she really cares about, men and women's sports. It's not a big issue to her. But because she saw our House and our Senate and the people of New Hampshire say no more transing children, now it's illegal in this state to give your child any sort of medical transitioning. You will lose your license in this state. There's very few states that can say that. We're not allowing the women in men's bathroom shit here either. Whereas, next door we got Maine saying that, oh yeah, if your kid runs away from New Hampshire, we're going to take custody of him and then we're going to start transing him against your wishes. Which is fucking wild to me that should exist, because people in Maine don't come out to vote. they're not incentivized enough to watching their beautiful state, because Maine is fucking beautiful. If you don't know, Maine is not all Portland, that's for sure. Maine's a great state. There's a lot of true, honest, hardworking, conservative folk in Maine. Same thing in Vermont, but they're not coming out. The fact that Janet Mills was able to do 2 terms in Maine is mind-boggling to me. When they went, their state had a surplus, and now they're in the negative. Now they're in debt. It was one of the very few states at the time that was running on a surplus. So, and they kept voting for her. They kept voting for her, and this is what they're getting. They haven't gone out. North of Portland is all red. If you look at the maps, it's all red. But these people aren't coming out to vote. So we have to get these people energized. We have to get out in the fucking streets and do something about it, or else we are going to lose this republic. I feel this doomy about what I'm about to say, that if we lose the House and the Senate in 2026, it is the end of our republic as we know it, because there's no way in hell, if we lose both of those, that you're going to convince me that J.D. Vance is going to win in 2028. If we get trounced in the midterms, if we get screwed in the midterms, it's going to be our fault for not getting out there and doing what we need to do. And as far as I'm concerned, look, Trump has got 4 years to do what he needs to do, right? The reality of the situation is 4 years is the setup for the following 4 years. We all know this. This is how this works. This is the planning and engineering phase. And then we start the build out. And the next 4 years is the finish of the build out. I'm using construction terms right now. And then we get the finished product at the end of the 4 years. He doesn't have another 4 years. So it really is on us. If we want to keep our republic, then you got to get out there and do something about it. I know I am. Like I said, we're working on right now getting Lily Tang Williams on the show. I can't wait for you guys to hear her story. A gentleman by the name of Dan Innes, and then, and I'm more than willing, if you have somebody that's running in your area and you want to send them my way to get them on the show so we can get their name out there, I will more than happily do it. I'm not just about New Hampshire politics. I mean, first and foremost, I am, because I want my state to stay the way it is, so I got to do my work there. But I care about your states too. So again, if you want to bring somebody on here, if somebody hits me or Conservative Pen up in the DMs and says, hey, I think it'd be a good idea if you get this person on and talk to them. That way you guys can get all the people that live in your area or in your district to come into the show or the space to... Uh-oh. Of course. The whole entire app crashed. My apologies, people. Sorry about that, guys. The app crashed. Completely crashed. Crashed the browser. Gotta love X. So yes, again, I don't know what you guys heard, but if you guys want to suggest somebody, and you want to DM me or Conservative Pen and say, hey, you guys should bring this person on, please do. We'll absolutely bring them on. It was like one night on Shell Shock that we brought in this, Shell brought in this independent. He was running for something in New York, and he said that he literally said in the space that the Constitution is not set in stone, that the Constitution is not immutable. We were all like, what? Because, of course, I'm going to ask him. He's running in New York. Oh, he's running for mayor. Yeah, that's what it is. He was running for mayor. And I said, well, what about the Second Amendment? What are you going to do to... Oh, well, New York's laws on the Second Amendment are fine. I said, Well, it's a violation of the Constitution. It's pretty much set in stone. He goes, no, it's not. And I said, what? I said, the Constitution's immutable. He's like, no, it's not. He goes, states can make whatever laws that they want. And I said, well, Marbury versus Madison says differently. And he says, what's that? So this is the kind of shit. I mean, and he tanked his career right on fucking Shell-Shocked. He tanked anybody that would even notice him. Like anybody that's working for the conservative caucus, like Chad Keaton does. You know? They're like, yeah, no, this dude's not on the list. Like, you know, Rhino Removal Project be like, all right, yeah, no, we're not doing anything with this dude. You know, or any of these groups that were in there that night. And the dude just tanked himself. Fuck him. You know what? You can't sit here and run on a conservative platform trying to play to a conservative base and say that the Constitution can be subverted or subjugated at the whim of lawmakers when those laws blatantly violate the Constitution, blatantly violate Heller, and blatantly violate Bruen, and blatantly violate Marbury versus Madison. So, you know, this is the kind of shit that we need. So we need to bring people in here. I'm more than willing to host anybody, anytime, if they're running for office and you think that this person's going to be good or you want to see me fucking grill that motherfucker, I'm all for it. Doc, do you still have your hand up?
Yes, I did. First of all, I wanted to tag off what you were saying about New York. You know, we've already had a New York State judge declare that the Bill of Rights didn't exist in her courtroom.
Yep, the Second Amendment doesn't exist in her courtroom.
And put Dexter Taylor behind bars for 10 years on that basis. And if that can happen with the second, it can happen with the first, it can happen with the third, the fourth, the fifth, etc. You know, all your rights are. We're doing another benefit show tomorrow night for Dexter. We're gonna see if we can't get him over the line. You know, that last little bit over the line for his appeal to be filed.
So how much further do we have to go, Doc? And if you get a second, can you actually put that up in the nest, the Gifts and Go?
I will.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure of the exact number at this point, but we're real close. I think within a couple of grand. I mean, that's an easy lift for a Saturday night at the beginning of the month. But yeah, we're working hard on that. Also wanted to mention on the local front. I mean, you know, I live in the CCP territory of Oregon right now.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some encouraging things starting to happen locally. I'll DM you the information, but you should really talk to Michaela Hammerson.
Michaela Hammerson. Okay.
She's one of the two chief petitioners for the End Vote by Mail initiative, which is picking up a lot of steam here lately. Her and her husband and Ben Edel and a couple others have been all over the state, setting up booths at the county fairs, at the state fair, picking up signatures, you know, by the ton, to get this thing on the ballot. The heavy lift, though, is once it's on the ballot, we've got to get through vote by mail and all of the associated corruption attached to that in order to get it across the line and do something about it. So, but yeah, Michaela has been an incredible voice on this thing, a real inspiration. And for the people that like to bag on these young folks, you know, I mean, she's a late Gen Xer, you know, and she's moving heaven and earth. Her and a couple other people are absolutely getting after it. So it's not all dark, you know.
Well, yeah, it's not all dark, but there's a lot to not be happy about right now. You just got to try to be positive. I know, but like I said, we we really see somebody like that. I would love to have on the show. I mean, we definitely need to get rid of mail-in ballots. You know, we for generations we took the time to take part in our republic and doing our civic duty, and I believe our civic duty is to vote. Because there's too many people that don't vote and then bitch about the way things are, and it's like, wait a minute now, hold on a second. You don't get a chance. You didn't get a choice to fucking bitch. You can't bitch. You gave up your right to bitch. Just like I voted for Trump. I have earned the right to bitch about shit that he does that I don't like. But as far as canceling him or saying, you know, I'm not part of the process anymore, I'm not willing to say that either. And I'm tired of I'm just tired of the extremes. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna get hosed in 2026 if we don't do something about it now. We have to start doing all the work now. We have to start pushing these candidates. You know, I'm not happy that he's backing Lindsey Graham. Of all the people, this guy's been a never Trumper the whole time. And everybody says, well, you can't do anything because he's got a $80 million war chest or $100 million war chest or whatever, however much money the fucking guy's got. I don't care. You know, it's a perfect example. Tony Gonzalez in Texas 23. You know, Brandon Herrera is running to unseat him. This guy is a conservative, but has voted for every single major gun control bill that the Democrats have brought across this table. Tony Gonzalez needs to get the fuck out of Texas. He does not espouse Texas values, the values of his constituents, but because he's the name that they know, and because Brandon Herrera is Brandon Herrera, if you've ever watched his show on YouTube, he fucking talks like I do, and he doesn't give a shit. He just says what's right. So a lot of the, let's say, the Bible Belt Christian conservatives have a problem with his language. So they vote for the milquetoast subversive prick who's a polished speaker and a polished politician, but never get any of their mandates enacted. And also because he's known, these are the people, the reason why we're fucked right now, oh yeah, I feel it brewing in me. I do. The reason why we're fucked right now is because people just go into the ballot box and downvote everybody that's on the bill. They didn't do any research beforehand. They just said, all right, I'm voting all Republican. It doesn't matter anyway. Because these people have an R next to their name, and so they must espouse my values. This is why we've been fucked for years. Because nobody's pulling their head out of their ass to take the time to investigate these people. Lindsey Graham, everybody knows him. So because he's familiar, they may not like this that he does, and he may not like this that he does, but he's the guy that's been in there, and we don't really want to shake things up. We voted for President fucking Trump. How could you not want to shake things up? Are you the biggest disruptor in our government's fucking history? Now we need to vote in people that are like-minded with him, that have our values. Lindsey Graham does not espouse Republican conservative values. He doesn't give a shit about his constituents. He gives about his monetary legacy. That's all he cares about. And that's the multitude of the people that are in Congress. I remember when Scott Brown, Nick, I'll get to you in 1 second. When Scott Brown was running for Senate in Massachusetts, and I was watching because he was a Mass senator first, and I'd watch his commercials, and he's riding around in a beat-up F-150. And we're like, No, dude, this guy's just trying to play to us. And then we had this thing happen in Rentham, Massachusetts, where a Marine was hanging an American flag outside, and some doomcoon decided they wanted to bitch about it, and they were offended by the American flag. So we all got on our bikes, and I got to meet Scott Brown, and we all went down there, and we rode around Rentham with American flags on our bikes, flipping them off. And it turns out, well, he didn't end up having to take his flag down. But we came down there hard. And I met Scott Brown, and he was driving that piece of shit F-150. The guy did not have a fucking big house. He had a very modest house. I think his house was even smaller than mine, and I have a modest house. He was somebody that was trying to live the values he espoused. He was walking the walk and talk of the talk that he talked. And that's why I gave him such respect back then, because he was, and everybody goes, oh, it's a publicity stunt. No, it's not a publicity stunt. This guy's going to bat for somebody that wanted to hung an American flag outside of his condo. And because a bunch of fucking muzzies that lived there were offended by the American flag, they were causing this poor guy fucking hell. Well, sorry. This is America. Nick, go ahead. Good to see you.
Hey, Lindsey Graham. I find it mind-boggling how many people on the right can't draw the correlation when they use the argument on why he's still there, especially in the context of Trump, about money. And then they're like, well, Trump can't be bought. Now, I support President Trump, but I'm just saying, like, so explain to me how that works mathematically, that if Trump's backing Lindsey Graham, but it's because he has all this money, so you're saying he's buying Trump? Like, you know what I mean? What's people's argument on that? Like, the whole statement about Lindsey Graham was this war chest. Like, explain to me how that should work, and why that seems to be effective with Trump. Then it's just wild. The whole basis. And then I was just nodding along to your other comments about being involved. This has been like the rant, right? Get involved locally. The federal government shouldn't have the power that it has. So assuming that putting all your faith into every 4 years voting for a federal position is going to save you isn't. All it's going to do is undermine your constitutional rights and let them slowly claw back more of your civil liberties, right? So like last bit, JD Vance. Like if everybody thinks JD Vance is going to be the next savior, like Jesus Christ, Peter Thiel is his freaking mentor. Like everything about all of this is so wild, and it's so frustrating to witness and watch as the days are passing by. And again, people, we're all talking about it right now, right? People have these comments, and without being like, repetitive on it, it's just like, how can we drill this into the minds of people that you've got to be involved? You have to hold yourself. Don't talk about accountability to the president or to anybody until you're going to hold yourself accountable to holding them fucking accountable. And nobody is. They're just talking about it. They're using the word without even seeming to fucking understand what it means in their own backyard, let alone making some indignant expectation that the federal government is going to be just accountable to the tax-paying citizens. Like that's just going to suddenly happen overnight, and what, on a whim because you said so, because you're sitting there on your couch with your thumb up your ass saying so. What are you doing to make that difference? To your point, Rob, going out and picking up a fucking flag and putting it on the back and saying, we're not going to take this shit. We're going to make a stand. Those things matter and they make a difference, and people just aren't doing it. All they're doing is flapping their jaws while they're sitting on their butts doing sweet fuck all about it, expecting the world to revolve around them. And it's infuriating to witness on the right. I expect that kind of mindlessness on the left. And sadder enough is that the left seems to be still, running circles around the right in regards to movements, getting boots on the ground, all this shit. What are we doing wrong here, people? And it's not about waiting for somebody to come and organize it for them. Everybody needs to just get their shoes on, go step outside, and start banging on doors, holding their local reps accountable, letting them know that they're a voice and a force to be reckoned, like what you're doing where you are. And until people do that, nothing's going to change. It's going to get worse, and the worse it gets, the harder it's going to be to come back out of it. And so I just have to say, I applaud you for everything you said. I agree. I'm nodding along. I'm going to get fucking whiplash. And I don't know what else anybody can do other than what's been stated, right? And I think that we just have to be, continually, repeating that on, I don't know, like, do we just like record it and hit play? But how do we? I don't know how we should, because I see spaces, leaps and bounds all the time. The same. Everybody's just talking. They're just talking in circles, and they're just not along. And then again, I agree. You know, Epstein, this, all that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somebody made in the comments in the purple pill. It's all just. It is all a fucking distraction. It's all one big fucking carrot dangling. We're all a bunch of squirrels looking at the shiny object, thinking that we've got the upper advantage, that we're so freaking smart, that we all know what's going on. Well, as everybody watches the world burn around them, and their rights slowly get taken away from them, and then one day wake up, like I say, shackles on their legs, wondering how did this happen. I didn't do anything to stop it, but it shouldn't have happened. Well, bitching about it not shouldn't have happened isn't going to make it not happen. You know what I mean? So thank you for holding these spaces. Thank you for ranting your rant, which is so full of sense that we're missing in this world. And
Some
I'm trying to
people,
like brainstorm what we can do to make it shake people's. I can't grab any of these fuckers and shake them and by the shoulders and slap them and say snap out of it. You know what I mean? How do you do that over the internet? I don't know. But thank you for the just like
some people are not appreciative of the things that I say, Nick. They say that I'm an influencer now, and that if I don't watch what I say, I might be held accountable for losing 2026. When all I've actually been saying is we need to get out there and make sure that we don't lose 2026, so that Trump doesn't lose, so that eventually that we don't lose. I don't. The fact that there's anybody out there that would say to me, Rob, you can't speak or talk about the president in a negative light is fucking mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling to me.
And to question it is like as though something you're not supporting. Like, what is wrong with questioning somebody?
Right.
Asking a question.
Or even Nick, or not even asking a question, being like, all right, I believe that this is wrong. I'm not going to stay silent on this. I have earned my right for voting for this man for 3 fucking times to be able to call him out and stand on my fucking on my square or die on a hill when it comes to something that I go, no, I don't agree with this. Just like when I heard him say his first term, take the guns, due process later. What?
There's been quite a few things he's stated. And my last statement of that, and I'll mute because I know I can just babble, is the people that are saying that you shouldn't be saying things like that, those are, sadly, it took me a while because first I was like, the left has their little phrases, right? I was like, oh, you're the fucking mega cult. You're those mega culters the left is talking about. You're the fucking culters. Motherfuckers call me a mega cult. Fucking don't call me shit. But then I'm like, oh, there is a mega cult. There is. Anybody who says otherwise isn't fucking paying attention. You got their head up their ass, and they are a fucking sheep pretending to be a fucking wolf. And this is bullshit, and we're watching it real time. And this is where, again, I say this before about people talking shit about, I'm a lion, I'm not here to wake up any more lions, I'm not here to wake up the sheep, I'm here to let the lions know all those fucking lions are a bunch of fucking sheep. And they're all just fucking little puppets, and it's sad to witness. And those are the influencers, not all of them. And again, I'm not like anybody. Oh, fucking call me out, bring it on. But that's the cult. Those people say you can't.
You're woke, right, Nick? You're woke, right? Or you're a MAGA light.
I'm wide awake. And you know what?
Yep.
I am not MAGA. I am not Make America Great Again. It's a fucking acronym. I don't identify as a fucking acronym. I don't identify as a mantra. I don't identify as a movement. I identify as a fucking human being. I'm a fucking freedom fighter, but I am not MAGA. I support the Make America Great Again movement. I support President Trump, but I am not MAGA. That doesn't make fucking sense. Are you MAGA? No, I'm Nicole. Thank you. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's retarded. And I'm just going to say that now. I just say a hashtag MAGA. I say I support MAGA, but are you MAGA? Am I Make America Great Again? That doesn't fucking make sense. It's retarded. Can we do better? Sorry, and rant.
I believe in
Amen.
MAGA. I believe in MAGA. I believe in making America great again. It is a movement, but it's not my entire identity. My identity is Rob, a constitutional conservative. And, I want to make a joke here, and because I have to preface this as a joke because people are going to be like, oh, my God. We made fun of the left and their safe spaces and their reading for years. We always said that the left couldn't meme because we mastered memeing. Well, they gave us really good, stuff to meme. the reeing chicks when he was voted in. Oh my God, the world's gonna come to an end, and that was like they are an endless stream of meme material. That's what I was looking. And we say all the time that the left can't meme because they are the meme themselves. You can't. Now we're now memeing ourselves. Like the right is memeing ourselves by some of the stupid shit that's going on right now, and I'm tired of it. But yeah, listen. I was, I am my political beliefs are born out of the 80s mindset, my culture, my the ideology, all the stuff that I listened to and read as I was growing up, and it's anti-government. It was always, 1984. I was 13 when I read that, and I got it. All the science fiction movies I watched growing up all talked about, the perils of an oppressive government. I read Animal Farm when I was 15. So, these were warnings to me. Like, if you don't pay attention and do the shit that you need to do, your government's going to get like this. And then Waco happened. And I was like, whoa. Then Waco made me go back and read 1984 again. So I've never trusted my government. My government's never given me a reason to trust them. Just because they exist doesn't mean that I'm going to respect them. Just like anybody who's going to claim that I have to have respect for them for whatever job that they have. Law enforcement being one of them. Just to the very nature that they are law enforcement, I have to give them respect while they're disrespecting me. No, you could probably go pound sand. I'm not doing it. I won't respect anybody. Respect is earned. This government has not earned constitutional conservatives respect because they have not lived up to what our forefathers and the Constitution written around the war that they were a part of to free us. This has been nothing but a money-making machine for the people that are supposed to be running this country. So no, I'm not going to have any trust for them. I'm not going to have trust for any one of them. I don't care who's in office. They have not earned our respect, and they have certainly not earned our trust. Now, before we go to Adam and True MAGA, hold on one second, gentlemen. I'm going to close out the live and concentrate on the space. So all of you people that are watching the live right now, if you want to join in on this conversation, we do have an X space going on right now. If you go to my profile at the Rob1772, you'll see that it's my pinned post. It's the first one. It's that purple bar thing that's in there. Click that, join the space. If you want to hit the little microphone button, we will bring you up, raise your hand, and wait till you're called on, and we'll get you to join this conversation. So, as we end the show, I just had like 4 things going on in my head at once right now. Anybody that was watching it saw it happen. They saw it happen in my eyes like, oh, shit, and he wanted to say 4 different things. Thank you guys for watching the show. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate your support. If you want to continue to support me or further support me in this endeavor, I do have my own store at the 1776.shop. It's the Critical Mass store. The T-shirts are awesome. We're going to have so many more products this weekend. I hope for a full announcement. The hats, the sweatshirts. The sweatshirts are fucking badass. Wait for those, man. Those are going to be... No. Buy a T-shirt, but don't wait for... wait to see the sweatshirts. They're going to be great. I think we're going to do Stanley's, and we're going to do coffee mugs too for the winter. And with that, I want to say you guys have a great weekend. Don't spend your entire weekend on X or on social media. Get out. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Touch grass, go hang out with your families, do something, get off the phone. But if you are going to go out there, investigate who's going to be running in your city, in your towns, in your districts in 2026. Start making a list of these people. Start, if you want to be online, you want to do some research, get off of X, go to these people's websites. All of these candidates, they'll tell you what their platform is, what their beliefs are. Send them emails, call them if they have a number on there. Get involved one way or another. And with that, have a great night. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Oh, yes, that's right. Tuesday. So my show is going to change from Monday night to Tuesday now because my son has his football games in family first. So my Monday nights are now going to be watching my son and his Div 1 team kick ass all around the state. So you guys have a great weekend.